Greetings, welcome back to my channel. This is Stasia Bliss. We are here talking about Kundalini Awakenings. That's my specialty here. So welcome. I hope that you feel at home here and you find what you need here. I've got hundreds of videos here to support you during an awakening process and all the pitfalls along the way, practices that you can use in order to support you. Today I want to talk about white-knuckling it through an awakening. So let's just dive right in. So if you haven't watched any of the Biology of Kundalini by Janet Dixon videos where I'm reading about some of that and discussing it with you, I do recommend those videos. I haven't made it all the way through the book. I'm going to go back and revisit the next chapters coming up, probably I don't know, by summer, unless you guys are begging me to do it. But today I want to talk about what happens, and I mention those videos because it does talk about the crisis period in that book. It's a very valuable book if you are experiencing it, and sometimes it can be hard to read when you're in that state. So let's talk about it. So first, let's do a quick review on what this Kundalini Awakening is, how it affects your nervous system. So you have, I'm just going to give the basics again really quick, the spiritual mechanics of the spine, the highway, the straight and narrow, if you will, the spine, the way the life force energy, God consciousness, spirit comes into your body. This is the chi, the prana, the on, the kundalini, the shakti, the ma. This is all the names for the one energy of the kundalini. And that's the term I'm using on this channel, but there are many terms. This passageway where you enter the body through the crown and you root into the body at the root. When you're born, this comes in and you are crown, you birth into the world, right? This life force energy is moving up and down your spine as you're young, and if you don't keep it that way through adolescence and puberty, it falls to the base of the spine as the other hormones from the pituitary gland are released, and it settles there. And then you go through this fluctuation of Ida and Pingala trying to regulate, okay? And then later in your life, the Kundalini wants to awaken, and it will be stimulated by something. For the collective, I believe the pandemic was that moment. If you hadn't already entered a Kundalini awakening, then you did then. So many of you have talked about being in this state for several years, 3 years, 4 years, and that is correlating with this pandemic sort of moment when we all received a different vision of the world. We were awakened to a greater picture. Now that is one of the main descriptors of what a Kundalini awakening is. It gives you a higher vantage point. It gives you a different perspective on your life that you didn't have before. And that can be shocking, that can be startling, that can throw you off your meter, so to speak. It takes you out of your regular humdrum, how you were functioning. And of course, remember your energy centers, which are situated along the spine, are situated at each endocrine gland. So they are the step down functions and mechanisms for life force energy, for God consciousness, for Kundalini, own the chi, mother, to step down into your body and turn into a hormonal process, which helps regulate your nervous system and all of your organs and glands in the body. Okay, the glands are situated next to the chakra points, and the chakra points have psychic components. So that means they hold different states of awareness, and they're responsible for different states of consciousness and awareness. So the root where Kundalini is stored, and I can't put this down at the base and have you see me. So I'm moving this down to the root. The root is where we are rooted, grounded, home, okay? It's being in your body. Some of us don't feel rooted and grounded and in our body, and doing first chakra work can help, but that's also the seat of Kundalini, the seat of this life force. So when this energy is moving in the body, you will often feel pressure in the root. You will feel possibly like tension, pain, sciatica, tailbone sensations. You might feel electrical kind of shocks going up the spine as this energy is beginning to move up. You also have these glands sitting at the top of your head, back behind. I talk about this, this is in the biology of Kundalini too. These begin to swell as well as this energy is moving and trying to move into dormant areas of the brain. If we don't know what's happening, if we don't know how to regulate and manage it, if we don't have the tools and skills and understanding of what's happening, this can be a very painful process, where this is just smashing into your skull, and it can definitely give you big time headaches as dormant areas of the brain are trying to be, open, flushed with this life force energy. As this energy is moving up the spine, it also is activating your nervous system anew, because remember, your nervous system is the outpicturing of this energy from the spine, from the spinal cord into the rest of your body. So the goal is to animate your entire body with more life. Like you are enlivening. You are, as they say in the East, becoming enlightened. You are becoming Christed. The Christ light is this light energy that's coming down through your spine, through your nervous system, into your entire body. And if you don't understand what's happening, you can feel like, oh my gosh, something's wrong with me. I'm having a nervous system breakdown. I am super tense. I am freaking out. I am not able to handle this. I've heard the term white-knuckling it. I'm overactivated. It can feel a lot of anxiety in the body because you don't know how to ground the energy in your body, and you don't know how to regulate the life force energy through your system and assist it. So this is where yogic and tantric practices are extremely helpful. And that has been my study over the past 20 plus years, and my practice to work with this life force energy and help you to understand what's going on, because you actually can mess this thing up. You can do it wrong. You can not know what's going on and think it's something else and thwart the process, or have a mental breakdown, or have health issues and so forth, because you can't mentally understand how to move it. And the mind is important here. It's a mind, body, spirit connection. It's the Trinity. It's the body aligned with the mind, aligned with the spirit, which is in the form of the Shakti, the Kundalini, the life force that rides on your breath. So you need all three components to be whole and fully aware and awakened and holding this energy. So to hold it is to be whole. And that's also an integration, right? We can understand the concepts in our mind, or we can just feel them in our body. We don't know what's going on. Or again, we can have a spiritual experience from time to time, but to have those three merging so that we are in a state of a spiritual experience and we understand it and we know how to move it in our body, that's the yoga, that's the yoke, the unity consciousness, the unification. That's the oneness. That's the at one meant with yourself. And there is a process that is very difficult in raising that energy up the spine, piercing the pineal gland, allowing it to open. The 12 ventricles of the brain have to basically fold down, relax, bow, if you will, to the pineal gland, to the one center. They fold down in a meditative process. And this elixir of life flows into your body and regenerates. It's an ambrosia, it's a nectar, it's a blessing, it's an anointing, and it happens within your own self. And so it's important to learn the techniques, and it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be you learn all the techniques. There are some very simple things to know, which I'm trying to get out on this channel as much as I can so that you are supported. The main thing is this energy flows up and down your spine. So to be able to take your consciousness up and down your spine is important. Now, I hear a lot of people say, I'm really bad at visualizing, or I can't do visualization. That's okay, practice. I didn't used to be able to do it either, and now I can do it very well. And it just takes time and practice and like a willingness, right, to do the work. So visualizing as you breathe, inhaling up your spine to the third eye, hold it, even gaze up there. You can take your tongue to the roof of your mouth. That's a mudra that's called Kundalini mudra that actually takes all of your body's meridians and synchronizes them. Really important. This is activating your pineal gland, which is your body's capacity to witness what's happening. This is important because it can be really difficult when you're going through and you're purging all the psychic centers to get really involved in and get really emotional. And I say this in a lot of videos, but it's important to have the awakened third eye so you can witness what's going on and not be in judgment of yourself, or not be like really identified with the process, because it is a process, and it is a process that is part of our maturation as a human to become a divine human. I call it the second puberty, but my son hates that. He's like, never call it that, but it really is that. And I like the term only because we're familiar with what puberty is as a teenager. And as adults, we look at teenagers and we're like, oh, you're just going through puberty. And they don't understand, but we do. And we're like, we know you're going to get through it, and we know the process and who these things could help you and so forth. But a Kundalini awakening is like that too. You're just already grown up in your physical body. Now you're growing up spiritually. Now you're growing up to your spiritual mechanics in your body, which is a whole nother layer than your pituitary gland and your sex hormones coming online and so forth. It's a different level. It's actually your God hormones. It's your God consciousness coming online. So to be able to breathe up and down your spine, first of all, is to be single-minded, to follow the straight and narrow, as it was taught to me growing up. That single and narrow path is the Sushumna Nadi, the channel in the center column of the spine. That's where you want Kundalini to go. That's where you want this energy to go. And so if you could just breathe up and down the spine while going through any sort of crisis situation with this energy, that alone is going to be super helpful. Another thing is this energy is serpentine. You've heard the temptation of the serpent in the Garden of Eden. Well, this is another Kundalini awakening story. And this serpent energy gives you knowledge of good and evil, duality, right and left, Ida Pingala, the sun and the moon, the left and the right path in the spine. It gives you knowledge of it. So it does have this movement that it wants to kind of like move through the body in this fashion. It wants to kind of oscillate and move back and forth. And so, yes, we want to get to a point where we can hold it in stillness, but that's not always possible at first, because we are dealing with duality. We are in a dualistic reality. So by moving and oscillating, not only do we open up our hips and our spine so that we can handle more energy, because a lot of us, let's face it, we're stiff, we sit a lot, we don't bend and stretch and move, and a lot of people are like, I'm not yogis, I can't stretch. Okay, that's fine, but it's good to at least have your spine and your hips supple. So to rock the hips side to side, and to be able to breathe, inhale, exhale, and to kind of move with that energy as it tries to creep its way through your body, because the Kundalini doesn't want to just stay in the spine. That's the channel of entry. It does want to penetrate your entire nervous system. So it wants to creep out to your fingertips. It wants to go down to your toes. It wants to reach all the vital organs. It wants to come up to your face. It wants to go into your earlobes and all the parts. At first, that can feel very fiery and painful at times if you don't have enough mylar sheath around the nerves. So when we notice that this is happening, this is also, the wisdom of the body. The wisdom is Sophia, Saraswati is Divine Mother, is Kundalini. The wisdom coming in is telling your physical body, hey, there's not enough protection here on these nerves. Let's grow some more. Okay. Or, hey, in the head, some of these thought patterns aren't right. They're outdated beliefs. We need to dump those. That is a die off. That can feel like depression. That can feel like deep sadness. That can feel like a lot of things when the body's dumping the old. Or in the nervous system, as we're growing new sheath, that can feel a little painful too. So if we know that this is a normal part of the process, then we can do things to support ourselves through it. Breathing, visualizing the energy in the spine, visualizing the energy crawling out and creeping into the nervous system and filling all the cells. We can utilize tools such as, I love Yoga Nidra because it puts you into a state of receptivity and it helps your body to integrate the life force energy. We don't do enough relaxation usually in the culture overall, but also binaural beats can be really helpful to get the body to be on a regular, cyclical, harmonious sort of beat or rhythm. A lot of our circadian rhythms are off because we're not spending a lot of time outside, but nature really helps to regulate the Kundalini. So spending time in nature, and if you can't, then doing what you can inside. I mean, magnets, like working with magnets really is a good idea. Red light therapy can be really helpful. Taking baths, especially using salts, visiting places with water. Just going out and getting some sunshine in the day is also helpful. If you're in a place where you can sun gaze, that's at the hour and a half before sunset or right after sunrise. I do have an online article about that if you want to know more specifics. But yeah, so in a crisis period, another good thing can be to wear something over the head. That's actually why I have this with me, and why you see a lot of the saints and so forth with these things over their head, because this is helping the Kundalini kind of stay in the body and ground in the body by covering that crown chakra. Okay, so the crown chakra is activated. You're trying to bring your life force up there. You kind of want to like protect yourself. So wearing something over the head like this can be really helpful. And it can also just kind of keep the energy in your body, in your auric field. Another great visualization is to inhale up your spine and imagine exhaling around in a tube torus back in the base again. So you've got this shape like this that you're moving up and down the spine. So that, and then you can reverse it as well. That's also the way the energy moves around the planet. So you're also tuning into that tube torus energy of the planet. And of course, I want to just say and put it out there for those who are a little bit more advanced, this is all a step along the way of the process. At some point, these earlier tools that I'm giving you now become unnecessary, as I'll just give you a insight looking forward if you're not there yet. At some point, all of the chakras burst into one chakra, Lahun, which means all one. And that's where you get the saints with the glowing aura. That's when all the chakras have merged into one, and now you have one auric field that looks like a halo, but it's encompassing the whole body. And that's a different function. That's a higher function. But this is supposed to be about the white knuckling of the Kundalini. So I'm kind of going off. I'm just following the thread where it wants to go. But so I want to double back to say, and I have a video that says, can you stop a Kundalini awakening or something like that? And the answer is no. The answer is no. So once this begins, it cannot be reversed. It can be thwarted. It can be made really difficult. It can be suppressed, which can lead to mental disorders or physical disorders. It can be ignored. It can be medicated. But these things are all not going to help you feel better. Let's say once the process has started, the best thing you can do is learn to manage the energy. That's the best thing you can do. Okay. It's like once a woman starts her moon cycles, I mean, you can't just like plug it up and like think it's going to end. That's going to cause all kinds of problems because that's going to back up menstrual blood into the system, and you could die that way. And this is very similar. This is life force energy. This is God coming into you. This is the universe. This is love. This is the healing power of the universe that we all have a birthright to, that when it comes into the body, it's not like we just know how to use it usually. I mean, there are some few people that just boom, they're like radiating, glowing from when they're a baby and they never stop. And they're like these holy Christed people. But even Jesus Christ went through some struggles and some initiations early on to learn how to manage that energy in himself. And so do all great masters and avatars. Learn to manage and hold it and show us how to do that. These things will you also do, and greater than this. So meditation is important, but it's not all. Of course, you can meditate through it all, but if you don't have the forthwit to understand what's going on, and our minds can really like sabotage us, is what I'm getting to. So the main thing is the symptoms you're feeling as they're normal. Like, you are going through a purification. You are going to have old fears and old beliefs and sensations arise. You are having your ego try to protect your lower self, which means the self pre-Kundalini, like your just basic human self, human tendencies tied to your reptilian mind, your amygdala, that is just about survival. Okay, so survival is all about your just physical body, and it's like, no, you don't want to do this, you're going to die. And the answer is yes, you're going to die to your old self. That's an initiatory rite of an awakening. And that's part of the work that I do with people, is helping walk through the passage of transformation of self, which is a death process, a death of the old nature. And as we do this, we have to shed. It is like the snake. We have to shed the skin of the previous self and be willing to be the new self that's trying to come forth. We have to be willing to let go of old, outdated beliefs or fears or ways we used to do things if we want to continue to go on this journey. Or we can check out, at your time, but this is more about embodied ascension. That's what I teach. And I don't teach checking out. I teach embodied ascension. And that is to bring the divine self into your physical body and live with it forward as much as we can. Now, including me, we all have blocks around this. We all have our minds. I'm not better than you. I've just been working on this longer, so I have some tricks and tools, and I've been studying this specifically. So that's why I feel like I can talk about it, because I don't hear a lot of people talking about this, even in the yoga community. It's largely body practices, which are great. I don't diss that at all. Body practices are great, but let's talk about Kundalini. Let's talk about what happens when it's active. When you're going through crisis periods, the best thing you can do is self-nurture and make yourself comfortable and breathe and visualize it in your spine and know this is part of the process and trust your inner wisdom. And sometimes we got to get on the ground and cry and just cry and just cry and just cry and just let the old paradigm break and trust that this is part of it too. The second chakra is called the dark night of the soul. And this is where we wander through the valley of the shadow of doubt and death and disease and destruction and ancestral wounds. And it tries to take you down because it is going like through the underworld of yourself. There is a shedding, a dying to the old nature. This is the most challenging part of this journey, and one reason that I'm here to support. I understand how difficult it is to let go of parts of yourself. They feel very much like you. They feel very real. But there is another you, there is a more true you trying to emerge, a larger you, like the Russian dolls being stacked. A bigger you wants to come in and you just have a small doll. And so that doll has to break. And we don't have to do it through the death process, the physical death process. We can learn to continue to break that shell and emerge again and be the butterfly coming from the cocoon again and again in each of our awakening. And each progressive awakening becomes easier because we know what's going on. We understand. I feel like I've been through hundreds of these. And every time another one comes, I'm like, oh, here we go again. Okay, I let it go. I release that old me. I cry. I immediately go to the bath. Like, I know what to do. And this is the process that you could say is never ending. It just gets easier. It gets more fluid. We get more resilient. We come back to center faster. And we learn to breathe more fully. And we learn to hold more light. And we learn to hold more compassion for those around us who aren't quite there yet. And that's okay. And that's what we're here together for. And that's what this age of Aquarius we're coming into is all about, is the human awakening, us doing it together. Pluto's in Aquarius, guys, so the death process and humanity going through these transformation processes again and again, like this is up, like this is hot. And I should have started this video out by saying this day is Mahashivatri, and Om Namah Shivaya. 2 days before the new moon here, we're in the dark moon, a balsamic moon. This particular moon is holy in India as a night of Shiva. Shiva is consciousness, the masculine energy, God holding space and opening up the spine for those who are open and receptive. So in India, many sit all night to receive the cosmic energies in the spine tonight, and they use sacred herbs and medicines and chant a holy mantra, which I will be doing tonight at the yoga studio where I'm at. 108 mantras of the Mahamrityunjaya mantra, and I'll chant that before we end here as a healing mantra. But the Mahamrityunjaya mantra means the great victory over death. So Mrityun is death, Jaya is victory, Maha is great. Maha Mrityunjaya mantra is the great victory over death. The death process, the destructive process, the dis-ease process. This is because of the way that it activates the spine. It activates your life force. It helps balance and nurture your body, and it does through the grace of God, through the grace of the divine. So I'll chant that for you and we'll end this, because this video, I knew it was going to be a little bit longer today, but I just felt like it was so important. So it goes like this. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanam Mrityor Mukshiyamamritat. I'll chant it 3 times. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanam Mrityor Mukshiyamamritat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanam Mrityor Mukshiyamamritat. Amamritat, Amrita, the nectar, the eternal life, is a blessing I leave with you today. Know that your awakening journey does have beautiful potential ahead of you. Just keep working it. Don't give up. Don't resist. Get support. Watch a lot of my videos. And if I can support you personally, please go to my email below, or send me my website below, or send me an email. My address is below for you. So much love to you. Namaste. The divine in me acknowledges, sees, and honors the divine in you. That's the part of your awakening. Let's do this.